Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today's video is a condensed version of there's a video that I made that's 2 hours of interviews, and I got it down to about 27 minutes or so of the really important parts of those interviews that I did with the 4 friends of Stephan Stearns. One of the parts that was interesting is one of them thought it was a lie when Stephan Stearns said that he was dating a Latino woman from Disneyland, and it turns out that was absolutely true. And that's the interview I did just recently with the ex-girlfriend of Stephan Stearns. So this video is just some of the main highlights from all 4 of the friends of Stephan Stearns. I hope you find it a little easier to digest. For some people out there, 2 hours is too long to watch. So I went through the entire 2 hours and pulled out the parts that sort of stood out to me when I was listening to it. Okay, so let's get started on that right now. Hey, but don't forget to hit that like button.
But some of the stuff that kid did growing up was so crazy. So a year after we stopped being friends, one of our mutual friends was going through hard times and needed a cheap place to live. So he moved in with him. And this kid's like an IT wizard. So essentially what happened is a year after that, they had a falling out. And I convinced my buddy to tell me what happened. And apparently what had happened was he had been cleaning up the network and found a shared folder between their computers where Stephan had been secretly hiding a camera in his room and recording his girlfriend coming in and out of the shower.
Oh, jeez.
And from what I understand, there was kid stuff on there as well. And like I said, my buddy was going through a really hard time, like literally broke. And from what I understand, Stephan's mom paid off my buddy to not talk about it. There's one time recently, and that's because she actually messaged me today. She's married with kids now and everything like that, but there was one girl who messaged me, and we didn't let him bring her to parties. I mean, he had to be 20, probably 20 at the time, and he was dating a girl who was 17. And we were like, no, sorry, she's not allowed. So none of us really interacted with her, so I don't really know too much about that, but we do know he was dating a young girl.
And what did she look like? None of us. Was she really
She was
young?
Asian.
Oh, she was Asian and really small then?
Yeah, she was tiny and Asian, yeah. Okay. She was literally tiny and Asian. I mean, 4'11" maybe.
Well, my wife's she's a really small. She's only like 4 foot.
Yeah.
5 or 7.
And this girl was too. She was super tiny. And I mean, so we thought that was a little weird, but this girl had messaged me earlier today, and she made a comment about that same thing that I'm saying now. And we were all told she was 17. She told me today on Instagram that she was 14 at the time. So that dramatically changes all of that. Yeah, so we were living together. I don't know, probably a couple years into, I mean, this was at the end of our relationship. So we had a disagreement because there was a lot of issues wrong with the house. We were renting through his dad, and I didn't want to pay rent because like a whole bunch of these issues, AC, garage, all these things hadn't been fixed, and my car was pinned in the garage. And this went on for like months. So finally I refused to pay rent. I was like, look, you got to fix these issues. I'm like, this can't go on any longer. I'm not paying rent until you fix these issues. And his son flipped out on me because I guess his dad was giving him a hard time trying to get Stephan to give the money to pay the rent. And I was just like, no, not until you fix these problems. And Stephan flipped out the house, threw a temper tantrum. And I mean a legit like 3-year-old temper tantrum, laying on the ground, a grown man pounding and kicking his feet into the ground and screaming and yelling. And he does all this, proceeds to run into the room, grab his gun, and draw a gun on me.
Wow.
We get into a scuffle after that. I leave. I never come back. My dad gives me money because I'm broke. You know, I'm broke, 20-year-old at the time, like bouncing between jobs. And he gives me the money to break the lease because I told him what happened. He was very socially awkward other than that. I mean, I know there was a story that I was told when he first moved here by his own mom. And that was him stabbing a dude when he was like 14 years old. So I doubt anyone even knows. This happened in California before his family even moved over here. But he stabbed, I guess, from what I understood, he was walking down the road. He was like 14 years old in California, and some guy had catcalled his girl, and he flicked the guy off. The guy was like a drunk 40-year-old man proceeded to run across the road and beat the living tar out of him. Well, apparently Stephan at 14 years old was one of those kids who carries knives on him, and he stabbed him and missed his heart by like barely a millimeter. But I will say, of that entire family, Dad seemed normal. Mom, on the other hand, is a whole different beast altogether. Like, she raises championship poodles. She's the meanest, rudest, loudest, most racist person I've ever, and openly racist. I mean, she doesn't hide it. Just obnoxious person I've ever met in my life. Like, my sister used to run a Publix down here, and she was hated by the entire staff. Like, how do you get hated by a bagger? Like, that's hard to do. He had this weird thing about, like, portraying being the most alpha guy in the room. A lot, what do they say? All bark, no bite. That was kind of him. And he used to do that all the time. He used to drive us nuts because it pissed everyone off, where he would sit there and just start cracking his knuckles non-stop. And it would be so aggravating. Daddy and Mommy always bailed him out of every issue he ever had. So, I mean, they moved to the other side of the state to get away from his charges that he had when he was a kid from stabbing that guy. So they moved literally all the way across the state so no one would know him in that town anymore.
He smoked pot, and I was like, oh, okay. I could have someone to, smoke a joint with and play some tabletop game. And after that, he was at my house, I mean, religiously, I would say every weekend, He was always coming over. He's met my kids, met my wife. He's been to my house multiple times. He definitely had an Adderall addiction, He didn't eat much, that I remember, and, he stayed up all night. He would wake up, like, way later than, like, 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. When I first met him, he wasn't working at all.
Okay, that was 3 years ago? That was 3 years ago?
Yeah, when I first met him, he didn't work that whole time until he went to Kissimmee, moved in with Jen, and they got back together because they had split up at one point, and then he moved back into his parents. I always thought that was really weird, that he lived at his parents, woke up whenever he wanted, but had money to buy these expensive Warhammer stuff. I was like, this doesn't add up. His parents giving him money? I didn't really know. They've been broken up within like 6 months of him moving there. So, like, within 6 months of him moving there and working at Disney, they were broken up. That's why he moved back to his parents in Northport, because that's where he's been living for the past couple months.
Okay, so maybe you can help clarify that and explain that a little bit better. So he did work at Disney after you guys met, though, right?
Yeah, he worked at Disney. He moved to back there, like a year and a couple months. I can't say an exact, number on that, but that's when he did move back. And then within a short period of time, they were split up again, and he was staying in supposedly a spare bedroom. If out of this was take this whole thing out of the conclusion, you wouldn't think so. You just think the guy had a social problem. And he was a nerd, and he kept to himself. So
it was kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, basically.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah. But yeah, he said out of nowhere he's moving back there, but like what he said, like that weekend, he said something. Yeah, he mostly felt bad about the breakup because of Madeline, because they created a strong bond.
Oh, well, was he the only one claiming they weren't in a relationship? Because how do you know that Jen thought that?
That's what he said, that he was staying in a spare bedroom there. So that's the information I have. And he lives back at his parents. So that seems to me, he was staying, he moved there because they were getting back together. Yeah, but also he had a lot of weird stuff, like, his room, it was nerdy, he was a gamer, so he had a lot of weird stuff. Like Star Wars memorabilia, Tamagotchis, Nerf guns, things like that. Okay,
so it did nothing set off alarm bells for you.
No, I just thought he was a nerdy guy, That's what I was going to bring that up. There was a woman, we went out that night, I introduced some friends, we all hung out at a bar called Dean's with some music. Like a older woman, a cougar, was 100% hitting on him. And he's single, so I was like, dude, you should grab up on that, man. Go get some. And he just was like, nah, not interested. And I just, like, it made me turn my head a little bit. Like, what do you mean, not interested? She was just looking for some. And if I was a single guy, why not? Who cares? And he was just not interested. And that always like rattled my brain, like, what? You know, what do you mean not interested? Now I know why he wasn't interested. She wasn't in his age range. She was like 50 years too young. And then also another thing he had said, I knew it was a lie why he was saying, because he's no good at lying. You know, it was just like, he was telling us he had some girl from Disney, some spicy Latina. I was like, no, don't believe that for a second. So he definitely lied. That's a lie that I caught him in. You know, I never said anything to him because, you know what, let him talk. Whatever, but I don't think that's true. He lost a drastic amount of weight. Like, drastic. Like, he looked sick. And I was like, dude, what happened? And then found out he got his Adderall dosage boosted, and he just wasn't eating, and I didn't know if he was abusing it. I know there was days he would take it, days he wouldn't take it. You know, he would call off work some days. He was telling me, you know, from Disney. So I don't know if he was up all night, up all day, and then missing work, or if he chose to call out of work because he wanted to be with Madeline. Well, I know they had contact when even he wasn't living there. Like, I remember him distinctly bringing that fact up, that she would text him and talk to him.
Oh, so they would communicate with each other.
Yeah, that's why it's like, did he groom her hard enough that she, like, loved him? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I really don't know, you know, it's just speculation. I don't really know. I just always thought it was weird that, you know, no one was ever allowed to his house. You know, no one was ever allowed there. I don't know what happened to his vehicle because he was driving his dad's car. That's whose car that was his father's car, that Lincoln, the MKZ.
Okay, and so you are probably somebody that he saw more often than other people recently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Stephan didn't have many friends. I never heard him talk about other friends, ever. Normal stuff. I mean, he wouldn't eat every single time. Like, I've never seen him eat at any time when he came over, except once. He had pizza. Yeah, mostly that cougar thing. The being, with the communication with the ex-girlfriend's daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wanting to go back to your ex's house to be at your ex-girlfriend's daughter's birthday seemed weird. Talking about how they had a real strong connection, that seems weird to me now. Also, yeah, the like living there while they were, that always just seemed weird to me, you know, but nothing ever came up about teenage girls or young children, ever. The living there while they weren't together and them calling each other a couple seemed kind of weird to me, and kind of like, I don't know, is it a story?
Well, it is weird that she's saying that.
Did she know? Did she know they were doing stuff? And was the daughter going to get, you know, like, get both of them in trouble?
Yeah. Have you ever seen him when he's shaved? Or has he always had that big beard?
Yeah, he actually showed up shaved. Yes. He actually came back and he was shaven.
And when was this?
When he came back to live here. So, you know, 3-4 months ago. Yeah, he had no beard.
Oh, 3 months ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he grew it back, and then he goes back there and commits the murders again. But he had the beard on the entire time prior to moving back, right?
Just about. He started growing it back, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Not sure how that's connected, but maybe he was going to shave it off again to hide who he was after the murder.
But there's just a lot of details about my interaction with Stephan, just as being, you know, preteen and teens, that he was a very strange, weird kid. Collecting semen in bottles to...
Wow.
Like, I know, and a lot of this is just whacked. And the more I thought about it, the more I remembered, and I'm talking to my wife about it, and then I'm remembering things from then, and it was just like, you know, he just collected weird things. He tried always making weapons out of weird stuff that were like concealable, like markers with, you know, nails in them. And he liked to make blowguns with thumbtacks and just weird shit. Anime, always into like weird anime stuff, very obsessed with that. And Debbie is an absolute abuser as well. I don't know if it went down the sexual route with Stephan, but just the level of verbal abuse, and sometimes we witnessed some physical abuse, was extreme. Stephan got ran over in a parking lot. This is what I was told. Ran over by a guy. I think he was 18, 19 at the time. Stephan was playing in the parking lot, like a Pizza Hut or something. And I guess the mom, Debbie, was paying. Well, Stephan ended up getting run over. The guy was backing out. Young. He was like, the driver was 17 or 18.
I see. Okay. Yeah. All right.
If I remember right, he had like a lifted Toyota. It's because they always hated him and his mom always hated lifted Toyotas because of this. But the story we were told was he was playing in the puddle with like a toy or something, and then the man, backed over him, not seeing him. So then they sued the man and got all this money, but it always seemed like Debbie would remind Stephan, you have anger issues because you got ran over and you're just never been right. So she always drilled that back into him. I don't know if an excuse for her to be mean to him, or it just seemed like a revolving wheel of, you're an asshole kid because you got ran over, and that's why I yell at you. He was trying to show me a Hustler magazine he had gotten or something, and I'm like, well, where'd you get this? Where'd you get this? And he's like, oh, well, my mom gets them for me when my dad's out of town working. And I'm just like,
wow. Oh. That's ridiculous.
I know.
Was she abusing him in some way? Or?
I don't know. Stephan never said anything to me about that. I think that if she was, I don't think he would. Just the amount of temper that she would go into, I think he was very afraid of her. Probably still is.
And when you say he was storing his own semen in little containers, or?
Oh yeah. He had this, and then he informed me that this was his newfound discovery, that if you poured it into the drinks, girls can get pregnant.
What? Jesus.
Yeah, dude.
Wait,
I wish I could make this up. I really wish this was not real, but he claimed that you could get girls pregnant by dumping sperm in their drinks, and they would never know who did it.
But that sort of implies that he did that or something. He poured that into drinks.
And it gets deeper than that. So his mom's horse had some kind of joint problem in the knees or something, so she would have these little glass vials where she would give the horse shots every month or something like that. Well, he would steal those things, and he would deposit, I guess, semen in these things, and then would take them to school and then claim that he, did it. And I never believed him. I'm like, no, you did not, Stephan. You're lying. You didn't do this. And he's like, I did it. And, of course, I never believed that. I don't really think he did that. It just seemed too far-fetched. And
doesn't seem too far-fetched now, though, right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. At the time, I was just blowing it off. So my dad caught Stephan. So my dad almost shot Stephan. My mom was in the back bathroom of our house, and it's gated, it's fenced. So rarely did those blinds ever really get shut. So my mom sees somebody creeping around the awning area of our semi-covered shop, which is where both of their vehicles were parked, my mom and my dad. So tells my dad, my dad runs out there from the front and goes to the barn and, sees this person, doesn't know who it is, sneaks up on him, and there was a light switch on both sides of the overhang where the cars are parked. My dad flicks it on and has his Glock 10 millimeter pointed at the person, tells him to turn around, and startles him, and it's Stephan. And he was over there with a camera, and it appeared to be he was trying to take pictures of whatever my mom was doing in that back bathroom. Everyone's commenting on the knuckle thing, and Stephan definitely had a lot of weird tics and loved to pop his neck and his back, definitely popping the knuckles. biting the nails, would make weird comments just in a group of friends, or be loud to get attention, but then would just kind of stare off into space and not know what to do after he made the weird noise. I will tell you this, that kid did not like to bathe. He just would wear the same shorts for weeks. And I don't know why Debbie wouldn't wash his damn clothes. I don't know. I didn't know, but he was just always dirty, or hair was oily, and just... Yeah, Stephan's got a half-brother. I can't for the life remember his name. I was trying to remember before you called me.
And who's the half-brother, the side of, the dad or the mom?
Mom.
Okay.
Yeah, the mom, Debbie's son. He was in the Navy. He just worshipped porn. He's just into porn, loved it, would print stuff out, and had like collections and just, you know, folders within folders on his computer. You know, and he's trying to get me to look at this stuff, and I'm like, no, man, I'm not into this, you know. And then he would try to show me, like, on his the laptop, and I'm just, you know, it was just weird. The amount of consistent pushing from him for me to look at it with him, or hey,
I wonder why though. Isn't that sort of odd in a way? It's almost like you might have been his first sort of interest or something. You know, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. He just the obsession with the porn and the anime figures, and
yeah,
you know, it's just all over his room. Nothing wrong with anime. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to get haters from people that are into anime, but the type of anime that he just seemed to have all the time around him, and the type of weird things he's holding on to, they were just it's just weird stuff that I don't know. But when I saw his interview, I'm like, this dude's fucking lying right now. I've seen him do the same face, the same cry, right in front of his mom on multiple occasions. He's fucking lying.
Well, that's funny because the other guy said the same
thing.
thing. He said he could tell he was lying immediately.
Oh yeah, dude. I know he's lying. He's just because I've seen him do that. Hey, you know, Stephan, you idiot. You know, did you do this? And oh no, and start crying. So it looked the same, just with a beard now. I'm like, this guy's so stupid.
So what I was saying about I've been to the house. So like when I heard that he was staying in a different room or something. They were broken up and he's still living there in a different room. Like, this is a condo. And it wasn't, when I was there at least, it was not just Jen and Maddie and Stephan in this condo. It was Jen's family as well. Like, we were not allowed to go anywhere else in the house except for Jen and Stephan's room. And Maddie had her own room. The rest of the house was not common living area. But like I said, their relationship was always on and off. I was always told that, we're fighting right now, and then we got back together, and it was ever since I knew about Jen, it was on and off, like constantly. Still, all in all, I feel like Jen knows something more.
Okay.
So I think personally, I think that maybe all three of them did something weird at some point, So it was, it became an okay thing for the kid in her mind that, his crying, like, there's no doubt in my mind he's sad about it. I don't think he's fake crying. Like, maybe no tears. Yeah. If you've already been crying for 3 days straight, 24 hours straight, even, like, you've already been dealing with all of this crap, you're numb. They've been together for a long time. And their relationship has always been like this on, off, on again type relationship. So for me, it's just been on, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that they never really, from my point of view, they never really separated. Like I've heard in the other interviews that he had moved out, and but even still, shortly after that, me and my ex-wife went to go visit them in Florida with my children as well. And we had a day at Disneyland. They took us to Disneyland, and we hung out all together at Disneyland that day. And that's before he had worked there. Like recently went through a divorce, and there was a point there where he had reached out to my ex, I guess hitting on her in some way, and she had told me about it, I guess trying to make me jealous, or I don't know, I don't remember if she told me about it or just posted it on like her Twitter or something. But talking to a friend about it, I'm like, yeah, he reached out to her, but at least that way I know that she's with someone with my kids that I know and trust, so I don't have to worry about that, right? Mm-hmm. And this was just like, this was 22. I don't know what he's arrested for. They're saying that he's got these things on his phone, but that could be anything. Like I could go onto a porn site at some point, and there's a link that goes down the wrong fucking path, and now that's on his phone. But and then it comes out that was footage in the home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on his phone.
Very unbelievable. Like I'm trying to make up any type of try and make it make sense with who I know as Stephan. Personally, I think there is a lot more to the story than we can put together at the moment. With Mom, and so when Mom was here, when Jen was here, she is not stable. She was all over the place.
Yeah. One
minute, totally happy, laughing, joking. The next minute had to go outside to the car so that she could bawl her eyes out, and then come back in totally happy, apologetic for it the whole time. She's super bipolar. Her meds aren't right. And Stephan, I've never known to like lose his temper. He has always been very composed, even when someone is like in his face, like, what are you gonna do about it, man? So the image that you have on your videos that says, is this Maddie, and it's pointing to the reflection in the glasses. Uh-huh. Nope, that's Jen. Jen had real short hair.
Oh, is she that little? She's tiny like that?
Yeah, she's tiny. There was one time where him and his mom had got, like, I forget what the instance was, why he was in trouble. But she had gotten angry to the point where she backhanded him, right? Mm-hmm. And, he took it, poof, and then kind of gave her this look like, really, Mom? Like, and then we left. We just walked out of the house, and she was upset, and you need to come back right now. This, that, and the other, and we just stayed gone. His mom is very rough around the edges. Like, she's she's racist. She's got a racist background, and there was actually one point where Stephan was dating a girl that had dark skin, and his mom had an issue with that at first and kind of got over that. He always liked to present himself as the alpha male in the room, right? Mm-hmm. And I can agree with that he did always want to portray that he's better than you, and he knows karate or whatever. I think he was got a black belt in karate. He was in a karate at some point.
Well, there you have it. I hope you got something out of this condensed version of the interviews of all 4 of Stephan Stern's friends that I interviewed. I think it drives home some of the elements of the behavioral issues that Stephan Stern's has, and it's a lot less than a 2-hour video. A lot of people don't listen to the whole thing. I went back and saw that the average watch time was like 25 minutes, so perhaps you can get all of the elements from all of the friends by watching this video that is around 25 to 27 minutes long. Okay, so thank you all very much for watching. Please hit that like button on the way out the door. Also, if you could hit the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell and select all videos so you don't miss my videos. Again, so thank you very much for watching, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.